Alexa Nikolas, who starred as Nicole Bristow on the hit teen Nickelodeon television show Zoey 101, shocked fans when she revealed that she was bullied, harassed, and verbally abused while she starred on Zoey 101. Alexa began starring on the show in 2004 at the age of 12 until 2006, when at the conclusion of the second season, her character was suddenly written off of the show. In 2019, Alexa Nikolas posted a devastating Instagram story of her breaking down in tears crying after not being invited to the Zoey 101 reboot that is supposedly going to happen sometime soon, but there have been reports that the reboot may not be happening after all. Anyways, in the video, Alexa says that she knows that she shouldn't be crying, but that the reboot is triggering childhood trauma for her.
I shouldn't be crying because I'm an adult, and those things were so long ago, but I guess it just brought up old memories, and it's just sad. I don't get it.
Listen, I don't think it's fair to tell anybody how they should feel when they're dealing with childhood trauma triggers. So please be nice during this time. Thank you.
She later posted a video to social media about everything that happened to her while starring on Zoey 101 that caused her childhood trauma. At one point, Alexa discusses being bullied so bad that she got physically ill and threw up because of it. Alexa went onto Instagram Live to discuss what happened to her during her time on Zoey 101 and what a toxic environment that the set was for her, and how being so young made it even more of a horrible experience because no one was taking her claims of being mistreated seriously. Alexa says that she was bullied on set by Jamie Lynn Spears, who played the lead role of Zoe Brooks, Kirsten Herrera, who played Dana Cruz, and Victoria Justice, who played Lola Martinez. Alexa goes on to explain how Jamie Lynn's sister, pop superstar Britney Spears, got her alone and berated her and screamed at her for not getting along with Jamie Lynn one day. If this is true, then that is not okay under any circumstances, but it's especially not okay because Britney Spears was a grown woman at this time. Also, perhaps the most shocking allegation made was that the show creator, Dan Schneider, also allowed for the bullying and may have even participated in the bullying. Now, Dan Schneider has long been plagued by rumors of misconduct on set that include things such as alleged foot fetishes and even alleged pedophilia. To describe Dan, Alexa says in the video, quote, "I don't feel comfortable going into details about what I've seen from Dan or what Dan is. Not a nice guy," end quote. She didn't go into any more details than that about him, as she was clearly uncomfortable. It is important to mention that Dan Schneider was ousted from Nickelodeon in early 2018, with many feeling like his possible exit could have been due to the possible Me Too movement claims, and that Nickelodeon executives have become aware of it.
Hey, I'm Dan Schneider. At the end of the day, I love it when the cast gets sassy with me because I get to write all the scripts.
Interestingly enough, most of the kids got discovered by the pool.
Now, what was the age range of the people that went to these at these camps?
The age ranges, the ones that I was familiar with, are ages 13 to 22.
I threatened them with something else horrible.
And at the time, even, it was like, okay, that's weird.
I will come after you.
It's time to talk about this monster, Dan Schneider. He is a former writer, producer, and director from Nickelodeon who did some disgusting things to children while he was there. But instead of investigating him like they should have, Nickelodeon gave him $7 million and said, "Thank you for your work, you can go away now." Yet those survivors have not forgotten what he has done to them. And today,
before I show the video that Alexa posted explaining what she went through, I first want to define the words bullying, harassment, and verbal abuse, because it is necessary to know exactly what those words mean in order to not downplay or make light of what Alexa went through, and why and how all of these things combined took an emotional toll on her and left her traumatized. Bullying is when a person habitually seeks to harm or intimidate those who they perceive as vulnerable. Harassment means to subject someone to aggressive pressure or intimidation. And verbal abuse is when someone repeatedly uses words to demean, frighten, or control someone. It can sometimes escalate into physical abuse, which is important to know because at one point in her recollections of being bullied, Alexa describes how when she was alone with one of her co-stars, this co-star pushed her into rocks while they were filming outside. Interestingly, that person would be fired after season 1, with some wondering if it was due to this incident with Alexa, or other reports do say it is because the person was starting to look too old for the role. It makes no sense that this person would have gotten written out of the show because they started to look too old, considering the fact that this person was only on the show for 1 season. Their looks would not have changed that drastically, so I'm led to believe that this person was let go from the show because of the incident that happened with Alexa. It's unclear of why so many of the cast members, including adults, chose to go after and bully this child, but what is clear is that something wrong clearly went on here, and that Alexa should not have been treated the way that she was. Now, obviously, I don't know if Alexa's claims are true, but I have no reason to believe that she is lying either, because 1, why would she lie about being bullied as a preteen/teenager, and 2, why would the people who she is accusing of such horrible behavior not come out and say that her accusations are just not true to clear their name? Is it because there is possibly some truth to what Alexa is saying? Here's some of the video that Alexa posted to her social media describing her time on the show and the bullying that she endured.
Why did you leave Zoey 101?
It was awful. It was, sorry, I just want to be real. That was probably the worst. No, there's been some ones that have
Your
been
character
as worse.
looks so happy all the time.
I think that's the sad part about it. The lead character on the show, who was supposed to be my best friend on screen, didn't really want to be my best friend in real life. And she was a little bit just distant from me, and I wasn't expecting that, and it kind of made me feel certain ways, but I kept trying to reach out to her, and I asked her to go and have sleepovers with me or to go to the movies, and she didn't really want that, and it was kind of a bummer because then when we were filming we had to act as though we were best friends. And there was a character on the show who played Dana, and Dana was older than us, and Dana played kind of a mean girl kind of character. Zoey and Dana in real life, which was Jamie and Kristen, started acting kind of as a unit, and I was kind of left out. And they would have sleepovers and all these different things, and then I was never invited to any of them, and it was a sad kind of realization to deal with at a young age. Obviously these are things when you're older, you're oh, what's the big deal? Who fucking cares about that? But when you're younger, it was sad because I really did want to be friends with everybody, and I felt very left out. And once that the other cast members started seeing that was what was being portrayed by the lead character, they wanted to impress the lead character, which I understand, and so they started acting like that too, and so everyone just kind of started becoming a clique, and I was really left out. So I would spend most of my days in my trailer with my mom, eating lunch and everything, because no one would sit with me, kind of, which was a horrible experience in general. It was awful, but it started to escalate. And all of a sudden, every day I was on set, they would kind of team up together and tell me if I was like an alien because I was so nice, and they would make fun of me for smiling too much, and just like a lot of digs kind of on a regular basis. And it was starting to beat up my self-esteem, and I would cry to my mom every night. And my mom finally reached out to, you know, the adults that were behind the camera, and literally every single adult was like telling my mom that I need to grow up, which, okay, that's totally fair, but I was 12 years old and I wasn't grown up yet, and I was balancing having to be a certain way on screen and balancing like how I was emotionally being charged off of, you know, behind the scenes. And it was a very hard thing to balance, and for a child it really starts to mess with your psyche in a lot of different ways, and creates a lot of self-doubt and self-worth issues and yada yada. And I felt like nobody was on my side. Like nobody even wanted to go like, I'm so sorry. And I had to show up on set and just always put a good face on and act like nothing was wrong. And that was a very hard process to experience. The last episode of the first season, there was an episode where me and Dana, the character Dana, had to basically go behind a rock and then like emerge from behind these like huge rocks in Malibu, or Zuma Beach. I think it was Zuma Beach. We had to like come around them. And it was just me and her, and I was so nervous to be like alone with her because the cameraman and everybody else was very, very, very far away. And we had to like run, you know, to them. I forgot what we were even doing. But anyways, we go behind the rock and there's nobody there, and she pushes me into the rocks. And, you know, just started telling me some like not so nice things, and I heard action, and then we had to like run and pretend we were like friends all of a sudden, which was a trip. And we did the scenes, and then afterwards like ran to my mom and I told her, and then, you know, obviously she went to the adults of the show and told them like this is what happened, and I don't feel like my daughter's safe anymore because now everyone's kind of not being so kind to her. And what is this about? And we need to have a mediator. Like somebody has to sit down with them and have them talk to each other and just settle it. Like Alexa doesn't not like anybody. Like it seems like everyone's just not liking her, and like why don't we just have a conversation about it? So my mom kept begging for a conversation, but nobody wanted to have the conversation. So eventually I found out right before season 2 that Dana was no longer on the show. And I felt like kind of safe in that way. I was like, oh, maybe that dynamic between, you know, Zoey and Dana, like Jamie and her, like maybe if that's not there anymore, maybe we'll have some peace for season 2, and like we can move forward and really get along and just like enjoy the process of working together. And I became very close friends with Victoria Justice because Victoria and I have known each other for a long time because our parents knew each other. So we were really close, and I was like, yay, I finally have a friend on set. And like me and Victoria were like super close, like every day hanging out. We had sleepovers, and I was like, yeah, we're finally going to movies, we're talking about boys, we're like doing all the things that it sounds silly. We were finally doing the things that like I wanted to be doing at that age, you know? And we got into like a weird dispute. Like I don't even know, I think it was about a boy, which is hilarious. And I wasn't even arguing with her, it was just like something weird happened one day. And all of a sudden I got to set, and it was bad. Like she was whispering to everybody and just saying things about me and not being friends with me anymore. And I was like, oh no, this is gonna be even worse than it was before. And I was so scared. But I was like, okay, whatever. Everyone told me just to be professional. Like that's what they tell kids, by the way. Like you be professional. And what the fuck is professional to a kid? I don't know. You know, what is, like, I don't even think I knew what that word was when they were telling me. I was like, professional. I was in my trailer with my mom, and usually when you're a minor on set, they have to bring you, they basically have to tell the guardian, which is your parent, exactly where they're taking you, and you can't take any detours because you're a minor. So like the first AD's job is to be like, okay, I'm taking her from this spot to makeup and hair.
Yes.
And so Ian was his name, Ian. He was like, came to the trailer, knocked as usual, and was like, hey, I'm going to take Alexa to makeup and hair, we're going to start filming. Mom was like, cool, Alexa can go. So I'm walking with Ian, And he's like, wait. I could tell, like, energetically there was something weird happening. But I wasn't sure what it was. But I remember thinking, like, why is he nervous? And we were walking, and he goes, wait. And, like, he kind of, like, went like this to me. He was like, Jamie wants to talk to you in her trailer. And I remember looking at him going, when the hell, I mean, I wasn't thinking hell then, but, like, when would Jamie, like, ever want to talk to me, you know? It seemed strange. I was like, okay, maybe she's finally down for the conversation, though. Like, maybe she's inviting me in and we're gonna settle. Like, whatever, however she feels, she'll say however she feels and how I feel or whatever. And he's like, so go. And I was like, okay. And he's like, yeah, Jamie's in there, she's ready to talk to you. And I remember thinking, like, maybe my mom should have known. Like, why didn't he say to my mom that, if he knew that the whole time that Jamie wanted to talk to me, like, why didn't he tell my mom? And so I went up the stairs, and I remember opening the door, and I saw someone that looked like Jamie run to the back of the trailer. And she was the one who had the biggest trailer than all of us. She had, like, one of those big ones. We had, like, the smaller ones, but she had the big one. So she, like, ran to the back, and I was like, that's weird. Why is Jamie running? And I walked in, and then I, like, walk in, and I think, like, oh, maybe I'm supposed to, like, sit on the couch and, like, wait for her, because, like, she ran to the back.
It's just a completely empty, large trailer with the first AD by your side.
No, the first AD left me.
You just opened the door.
Told me to go in there.
Just go in there.
With no guardian.
Okay.
That's what's... And that's... You can't do that on set.
So there was no one... You walked in, no one's in there.
No one's in there. Well,
Okay.
no, Jamie ran across.
Right. You saw someone run to
Jamie.
the back. You saw her run to the back.
And I felt like it was Jamie, yeah.
Okay.
And then I, like, sat down.
Yeah.
I remember just going, okay, maybe she has to go change really quickly because we are about to go on set. So, like, I was just like, okay, maybe that's just the case. And she, like, ran to the back, and then I sat down, and I was just, like, waiting, you know, for her to come out. And I was like, Jamie, and then all of a sudden, I'll never forget the image because, like, Brittany just, like, came out, and she was, like, kind of in just, like, a bralette kind of, like, thing. And you can sit down there if you want and just, like, zoom into us. You don't have to stand. Go back where you stand. She, like, just ran at me. And I don't want to go...
ran at you?
Yeah, like, this close. And started, like, berating me. And telling me that she was going to make sure that nothing came of my career. And that she was going to make sure of it. And that nobody messes with her sister. And the whole time I'm just thinking Victoria in my head, because I'm like, how does she think I never wanted to mess with her sister, you know? Like, there's no messing with her sister. Like, there's never been a conflict. It's just, like, I've been trying to be friends with her, and I've gotten no results from it, you know? And she was like, nobody messes with my sister, and she's screaming at me, and then I start, like, getting sick to my stomach, and I start to puke a little bit. And I tried to, like, run to the door, and, like, she's blocking, and she's still yelling at me, and I, like, freeze up, and I'm just, like, horrified by the whole experience. I don't know what to do. And at the same time, I'm thinking in my head, like, oh, I loved Britney Spears when I was younger, and, like, she was somebody I looked up to at that time, so, like, to have her not like me felt awful. Like, I all of a sudden was like, maybe I'm not somebody that should be liked, because if, like, my idol from when I was younger doesn't like me, like, that sucks. Like, what a horrible feeling. And so, like, all these things are going through my head, and, like, what did I do wrong? Like, trying to figure it out. And then she was kind of grossed out by, like, me being sick, and, like, I was begging her to, like, get out of there, and she, like, finally, like, unlocks, and she's like, go. And I, like, ran to my trailer. Like, I remember, like, not being able to, like, see anything. It was just, like, everything was, like, super blurry. I was, like, running to the trailer, and I ran in, and I went right to the toilet, and I started puking. And my mom's like, what the hell is going on? She, like, comes behind me, and she's like, Alexa, tell me what's going on. And I was, like, trying to find the words, but I couldn't find any. Like, everything was coming out as gibberish. And it's horrible.
At what point in the season was this? Like,
season 2.
But
this
like,
was spring break, I think. I think it was called the spring break episode. Surprisingly enough, it was our last day.
It was your last day of shooting.
Which is basically what Britney Spears was, like, telling me. It was like, after this, you're done.
Right.
Like,
and
I will make sure that nothing happens.
And then tell me about the experience when you were taken into the boardroom at Nickelodeon.
So, well, let me rewind a little bit, because I want to get to Dan.
Okay.
So my poor mom, like, I hope there's like some mom out there that like understands, like if your daughter comes in and she's like throwing up and like you have no idea where she just was, and like my mom was so scared for me. It was so, I will never forget my mom's face because she just didn't know what happened to me, you know? And so I remember her like opening like the trailer and she like screaming like Ian and like screaming Dan and just like screaming anybody like what happened to my daughter, you know? And she's like she can't talk, and so then Ian's nowhere to be seen. Ian flees. Ian fucking Ian just dipped out. Ian like knew what he just did, and he was like, "Listen, I'm out of here." Like and he was really close friends with the Spears. Like he was very close with them. I'm pretty sure like they even hired. Like they was very close, and so he just dipped. He was gone. So my mom was like, "Anybody?" So then there was like another like PA or somebody that was like, "What's going on?" Like I had no idea what was going on, and my mom was like, "Can you please get Dan? Get Dan here immediately. Get the producers here immediately. Someone needs to figure out what just happened to my daughter." So the PA is like, "Sure, okay," and like they're all in their walkie-talkies, and like you can just hear the chaos through like the walkies. It's just like, find Dan, find this person, and we waited for a while. And the whole time, my mom was like, "What happened?" I couldn't really tell her what happened, and I was like, I kind of almost want to wait because I remember hearing it in my mind, like I finally want the adults on the show to like understand what I'm going through. Like now this has escalated too far for me, and like I'm hoping somebody's gonna come now and be like, let's solve this problem. It's gone too far. Someone's being bullied on a regular basis. They've come out to you, like, you know, they've reached for help multiple times, and like now it's gone too far. So one of the executives comes in and they're just like so cocky. Like the way they come in like with their like Ray-Bans, and they're just like like they just like come in like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? It's like kind of like CSI Miami. Like when he like tips down like the sunglasses, like comes through and he's like, what's going on? Like doesn't really care. You know, he's just like getting paid. He just wants to be in and out. Like let's get to set. It's kind of his mode. Like I understand that's how they're trained. Like let's just get this moving. And I'm like sick, and my mom's telling him the scenario and like saying like she won't say what's happening. So then finally Dan walks in, and Dan has not helped the entire time. And I don't feel comfortable going into details about what I've seen with Dan or like what Dan is, but he comes through and with a smirk on his face. And because he's known the entire time that it was leading to this, he could have prevented this. Like he could have stepped in and been like, let's be friends here. We're on a kid's show. Like let's be like, even though we're kids, like an adult should step in and be like, let's be friends. Like how can we settle this? But no, that never happened. And so Dan comes in with like a smirk on his face, which he always had with me, not a nice guy. Comes in, he's like, what's going on? What happened, Alexa? Oh no, sorry, he goes, what happened now with you, Alexa? As if it's my fault, like immediately. And I finally start to blurt out, like, what happened? And like, what happened when I went to the trailer, and what happened? And he was like, you have to go on set. You have to film this last scene. And like had no care. He's like, but I have something for you that will probably make you feel better. And I remember being like, what? Like that's his response? Like I'm throwing up here. Like I'm sick to my stomach. This is awful. And his response, I need to get to set, and that, you know, he has something for me that's cool. And he just pulls out, you know those like portable DVD players that you could like put a DVD in and watch?
Yes.
He like his assistant like passes me this DVD thing, and I'm just like sitting on the floor like, I'm in the closet area, actually, because I was, like, so scared I was in the closet area. I'm, like, looking at this DVD player going, like, this fucking DVD player means nothing to me, dude. Like, what? So strange. He's like, okay, so now go on set, and let's finish this scene, and we'll talk about this later. And so, yet again, as a kid, I have to, like, be professional, even though I'm distraught and horrified, and literally want to never see the face. Like, I don't want to see the day ever again. Go on set. Everyone's being horrible to me. They started like shooting these water guns at me because like all the cast members had like water guns, and before we even started filming, they're like shooting water guns at me and laughing at me. Even like after they knew, because Jamie definitely knew what was going on. It was just horrible. And I'm like humiliated, just sitting there like have to pretend like I'm Nicole, who's like smiley and bubbly and like loves everybody and doing that. It's like a long-winded thing. I'm sorry, but so then afterwards, the execs call my mom and they're like, let's sit down with Alexa and, you know, hear her side of the story and like what happened and blah, blah, blah. And so my mom calls my lawyer, which I find out later was in cahoots with Nickelodeon. So she didn't have my best interest in mind. And they're like, yeah, just go and meet up with the execs. It's going to be totally fine. We get to Nickelodeon on Sunset, and there's all the execs there, including Dan, and they ask my mom if I can go in there alone. And my mom goes, no, absolutely not. And I remember going like, yeah, Mom, like, she's not gonna like leave my side. Like, I'm afraid to be around any more adult. I'm afraid. And my mom goes, I have to call her lawyer first. We call my lawyer, and she ends up telling us that it's okay for me to go in there alone. Like, oh, it's fine. Nothing's gonna happen to Alexa. Like, the adults are gonna handle this professionally. Like, I kept hearing that word, professional. Everyone's gonna handle it professionally. Everyone has to handle things professionally. None of that was ever happening. And so she was like, don't worry. Like, Dan's in there, the execs, etc. Like, you're gonna be okay. And I was like, Mom, I really don't want to go in there alone. She's like, I promise. Like, these are adults now. Like, you're not dealing with Jamie. You're not dealing with, like, Dan's sometimes mean, like, but, like, he has other people around him now, so everyone will be keeping a watch on this situation, this dialogue. And I go in there, and they literally sit me purposely. Here's a huge table that could seat, like, Jesus and his disciples. That just, like, goes across, and then they have, like, one chair for me on the other side. And I'm like, go sit down, Alexa. And literally the chair was too big for me. I felt so small. I have, like, there's, like, 5 people in front of me that are all adults that are, like, Viacom and Nickelodeon, and Dan's right in the middle, so, like, directly across from me. Does not look happy. And basically they just went on this whole thing that it's not Nicole 101, it's called Zoey 101. If I wanted my own show, I should have went and got one. I have to basically be nice to I have to, like, handle whatever the lead character is dealing with, because I'm a side character and I don't matter when it comes, like, in industry terms. I have to put on a good face, like, I can't take it just, like, it went on and on and on. Like, maybe there was some truth in what, like, Dan was like, maybe there's some truth in what Brittany said. Like, maybe you shouldn't be in this industry. Like, maybe it's too much for you. Like, you can't handle it. It's, like, fucked up shit. Like, really, really. And it was, like, for 20 minutes, I'm crying there just listening to all these adults, like, tell me that I don't really matter, that I shouldn't have been in the industry to begin with, that I don't really have a voice, that everything that I felt is irrelevant, basically, and that I need to be professional and just suck it up. And that's it. And he was like, well, who knows what's going to happen to you? And then they started telling me, like, do you know what happens to kid stars? Like, nothing ends up happening with them. Like, your only chance is, like, continuing the show for a while, because, like, after you're not on it, like, people fall off. And it was just, like, this brainwashing, like, just made me feel like completely nothing. I was just like, nothing. I felt like nothing. Anyways, I left the room, and I was crying. I told my mom I never want to be around those people ever again. I felt absolutely horrible. I knew I was going to have, like, I already knew then, in some way or another, that I was going to need years of therapy or something, because that was just awful experience. I felt like nothing. I felt horrible. I felt really low.
What do you think? Was Alexa right to vent about what happened to her? Why do you think that the other cast members of Zoey 101 have not reached out publicly or responded publicly to the video that Alexa released? One thing is for sure, everyone can relate to Alexa's story, having been bullied at some point in their lives, especially during childhood or during their teenage years. By Alexa sharing her story, she has shed a much-needed light on bullying and on being in an industry that is known for being incredibly toxic, especially to young actors. Drop your thoughts about this video in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel.